Greetings, Earthlings, and all other beings, the Nephilim, the Gaborim, the, who else are they, Jake? The
Anunnaki.
reptilians, the Anunnakis,
Nephilim.
the Nephilims, I don't know, whoever's here, Nazis, hey, whatever, I'm glad
Zog.
you're here, whoever God sent here, that's how it works. You're here because I guess you're supposed to be here or you want to be here or what have you. Good, it's going to be a good show today. I forgot to welcome my animal friends, though, the higher species of soul on this planet. So smart they are, smarter than us, because they don't have to bullshit themselves to feel the joy of life. Welcome to the Roseanne Barr podcast.
Oh, you see, my patience is growing thin.
Well, here we are today. You know how I like to talk to people who are thinkers, who hold a lot of information in their heads, and we've got one of those today, and someone with whom everyone thinks I have big disagreements because I'm a big, scary Jew. And I don't know what his fucking story is, but we're going to find out. Ian Cummings, hi.
Carroll.
Whatever it is. Ian Carroll.
She knows your name.
I know your name, but I can't remember names sometimes. Hi, Ian.
How you doing?
That is
Good.
hilarious.
Nice to have you here.
Yeah, I think it was really cool of you guys to extend the invitation. We're in like kind of and I think we both know that Twitter beef is just Twitter, but
Yeah.
it was funny to be in like a Twitter like battle, and then for you to just reach out and be like, you know what? There's more here, and we should have a conversation. That's what we need more
Yeah,
of.
because as I see things, I don't see things like anybody else on earth, apparently. And nobody out there saying what I think. So I thought, well, I like to talk to people. I like to disagree without trying to humiliate, because I just think that shit's phony shit. That means somebody's getting paid.
Yep.
That's what I think.
And our world is so full of people thinking that, well, I mean, it's like fractioning into, if you don't agree with everything a group
That's right.
thinks or everyone a person thinks, then you have to be a different group or a different faction, different team. And
But
that's
I think
Division 101.
I think, like I told you out there, I think anyone who doesn't agree with me is because they don't know what I know yet. So I told you, I got something for your ass once we start going there. But let's talk about Pizzagate first, because you know some good info on that. How sick is that shit? Are they ever going to release any of that?
No, absolutely not. Not willingly.
This is even pre-Epstein file stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like, none of it's
exactly.
coming.
No.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they swept Pizzagate so far under the rug. They burned the rug. They lost the rug.
Yeah.
They'll never talk about that. And the only people that might do something about it are people that had nothing to do with it and have enough power to, because, like, that is not just the Democrats. That is a criminal cartel doing Lord knows what. If you know, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the amount of power they have internationally as like a black market operation, so to speak.
Well, they don't pay no tax on it. I know
Nope.
that. But you know who subsidizes us up here who do the work and have to pay the tax? That's who pays for all their shit.
An awful lot of tax dollars.
All of their nefarious, black-hearted shit.
Such as like $65,000 of the taxpayer money that Obama used to fly hot dogs, across the
How
country.
many hot dogs is that? I mean, I eat a lot of hot dogs.
It's more than would fit on a plane, I think.
I guess so, right?
Unless he's got a big private jet full of wieners.
Yeah, it's almost like hot dog means something entirely
It's almost
different.
like
Kinda weird.
the CIA handbook says hot dogs mean
That's
male
FBI.
prostitutes.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Right? Maybe it was something like that, but who knows?
Well, it was really scary because
Allegedly.
it was the WikiLeaks. So I used to be a Democrat. You don't know.
Yep.
We're just meeting today, but it was the WikiLeaks in 2016 of Hillary Clinton. And when I started reading, because I was a Bernie bro, and I was like, oh, they're just saying, and you see Debbie Wasserman tell Hillary, just say he's a Jew. Just keep doing the Jew. And I was like, that's kind of shitty. I like Bernie. Long story short, in those emails, that's where this stuff comes up. Pizzagate's born out of these weird code. Now, let's say it's not child sex trafficking. There is some code in there. That's inarguable.
Yeah.
So we get to look in Hillary's email server, and there's all this crazy coding shit. And as soon as we started talking about it, instantly shut down.
Yep.
Which is like, that's before
like
Epstein.
Huma's husband.
Yeah.
That was Huma, Hillary's brain.
Yeah.
Her husband, remember on his laptop it said insurance
Yeah.
And it was
Yup.
all that stuff from downloaded on her private server. Where'd that go?
Yup.
Yeah.
Where'd all that go? Where'd the memory of that go? The memory banks of America are really getting messed with, aren't they?
Yeah, overloaded, flooded every day with new random stuff to fight about, new culture war stuff to fight about.
Mhm.
Yeah, the
For
Pizzagate
why?
stuff
So
is
that we'll be
deep in the memory hole.
preoccupied and won't see what's really hanging over our heads.
It's like how a landfill works. You dry the
Mhm.
garbage, you put mud, you put more garbage, you just keep fucking piling garbage
Yeah.
on. You don't see what's at the bottom.
And the funny thing too is they have to do it that way because Pizzagate's a good example of one of these scandals that there's so much evidence all over the place. It's
Yeah.
not just code words. It's not just the Instagram account. It's not just the people that were involved, like Marina Abramovich. It's everywhere you
Yes,
look.
it is.
And I think it's because it's being born out of a time when the internet was not as prolific,
Right.
and a lot of the tactics that these organizations and these people that are at the top of these organizations use, they're not used to internet sleuths and used to like everything being recorded, and so they just inherently weren't ready for the amount of trail they were leaving. And when
Yeah.
that trail got found before they could scrub, it's like it's indelible. It'll be on the internet forever. We'll always have that evidence.
Well, because just like with Doge now, I mean, I suggested a long time ago that autists
Oh,
flood
yeah?
the internet. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's what Anons were way
Yeah.
back in the 90s. And they're busy liberating the truth in every form all over. And they can't keep a handle on it and keep it away from the people anymore.
Yep.
That's when we really started to see the world change, when people had access to correct information.
Yep.
Boy, they jumped on that one, though.
Oh yeah, I mean every step forwards comes with a new type of a new type of warfare or attack or vulnerability, and the new media, like the internet, wildly powerful for free speech and for truth and for information for everyone. But also, information for everyone means misinformation for everyone, lies for everyone, propaganda,
Yeah.
intelligence operations for everyone. Like, we suddenly become the targets of the war, because every war, whether it's like Israel and Gaza or whether it's America and like Yemen, whether it's any war at all, right? That is an information space first of winning people to your side and of, thinking of ideologies and of subverting other nations, subverting. I mean, America is the target of subversion from all sorts of nations and has been for decades, right?
And we've been targeting other nations
Exactly.
for even longer.
Like,
Well,
Cold
we're
War,
the kings
we
of
invented
it.
never ended.
We're
We
the
invented it.
kings of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it used to be thought of as like us and the Soviet Union were the
Mhm.
two great superpowers of subversion.
Yeah.
And I think that America was propagandized to think that the Soviet Union was so good at subversion, and they certainly were not bad at it, right?
No,
But
they're the
It's pretty
greatest in
obvious
the
which
world.
one of us came out on top of that.
Well,
Yeah, the Soviet Union.
yeah.
I mean, they were certainly the I would say the ideologies behind the Soviet Union certainly
Yeah,
have succeeded in subverting America now,
100%.
the
right.
world.
even though it is no longer housed in the Soviet Union. Where
No,
it's
it's
coming out
housed
from.
in Putin.
You
But
think
were
in
you
Putin?
Yeah.
Were you saying we were better than
I
Russia?
would say that like we won the Cold War in the sense that the USSR dissolved, and
Right.
they did not have the
Right.
government structure that was going to actually sustain a country.
Right.
Their people were starving, and a lot of that fear was sort of CIA propaganda being fed in order to perpetuate their own need to exist.
Right.
For a lot
Yeah,
of those
but then
years.
you have to look at the number of U.S. spies that were actually Russian spies and vice versa.
Oh, Russia was way better at it for sure.
Yeah, but they were double spies.
yeah, what
so-
do you mean?
I mean, there was a lot of KGB spies that came over here and went to work for the CIA and
Double
vice
agents.
versa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
were double.
I mean, that was the whole front of the war, essentially, because I mean, there was the kinetic war in Vietnam and all the other Cold War proxy wars, and then the main conflict between us was subversion, spying. But a book that really opened my eyes to it is Legacy of Ashes by Tim Weiner, where he did an extensive dig through all the primary source documents of like Alan Dulles' files, Richard Helms' files, presidential files, and I mean,
Alan Dulles.
yeah, what a snake, right?
What a snake,
Yeah,
right?
what an evil man. And, that era of those founders of the CIA and our whole intelligence complex, like Allen is a perfect example of a guy that was deeply concerned with achieving his own ends, mostly on behalf of his corporate buddies, at almost any cost. And he's on record lying to the president to get what he wanted, on record, running dark operations that were not allowed on behalf of his sort of interests. And so the whole intelligence complex was born out of this idea of like, we'll do what we need to do for our interests. And, that has nothing to do with the American voter.
Well,
right?
I don't think they've done anything for the American voter in well over 100 and some odd years.
No,
If
certainly not
ever.
since. Yeah.
If ever.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, maybe sometimes it's like
for
coincided.
a brief period before they put, us back under British control.
Yeah, like we've benefited in the sense that we are richer because they overthrew Iran and, back during that whole
the Shah.
fiasco. And we certainly gained oil benefits and monetary benefits from the dominance that we've, portrayed around the world ever since. But I
Is
don't know
it
if that's
we
aligned with
or
what we want.
that people who say that about America? I always say, well, you got to look a little deeper because to me, it is all the UK, and by the UK I mean Standard Oil.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of European banking powers that.
It's just oil.
Well, oil is one side of it, right? But there's the whole money side of it too.
It's
There's also the
currency.
black market side of it, like
Child trafficking.
drugs, child trafficking, weapons
Well,
trafficking.
that's all based on oil. All money is based on oil.
Yeah, right now it is.
And it
But it
has
wasn't
been for
always.
a while. No, it used to be based on gold.
Used to have real money. Pretty soon we'll have digital money though, so don't worry.
Yeah.
It'll work out great.
We'll be safe then.
You know what that means to me is why I moved to Hawaii so long ago, maybe 20 years now, because I saw that in the future a tomato would be priceless. An heirloom tomato, you could
Mhm.
trade it for a car maybe.
You mean a real non-GMO,
Yeah.
homegrown tomato, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the real plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is well, whatever the currency is.
Because I
Yeah.
felt like after the collapse, it'll be a barter system between farmer neighbors. It has to be. That's what always happens.
I mean, anytime there is a collapse, currencies suddenly mean nothing. And, things like ammo and food and diapers and relationships, skills, those become invaluable.
Good time to cut the ads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While your 401k or IRA might be feeling the pressure, annuities don't flinch when the market dips. They stay steady, keep growing, and protect what you've worked so hard to build. With interest rates at historic highs, there's never been a better time to lock in guaranteed growth. With an income rider or annuitization, you can lock in a steady paycheck for as long as you live. It's like creating your own pension without begging your old employer. There is no daily stock tracking, no need to time the market, no panic selling at 2 a.m. It's a set it and forget it solution with guardrails. Let's be real, when the market freaks out, people panic. An indexed annuity helps take emotions out of the equation so you don't make costly decisions during a dip. Our friends at Republic Life Now know annuities inside and out. They'll help you find the right fit for your future. Go to republiclifenow.com. That's republiclifenow.com. Now we're back.
Such the Jew in me to go to ads when you start.
Well, we have
Like,
to
I
pay
can't
the
help it.
bills. I think that's human, not Jew. We have to pay our
Yeah.
bills.
Yeah.
I pay my
But-
bills by being used to being a really poor person growing up. Not like really poor, but like just kind of a dirtbag,
Yeah.
crunchy person. And so now it's like I can live out of a tent, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
easy.
living out of a tent, but
But you could.
it makes me harder to cancel because I'm not really making that much online. I'm certainly making enough, but
Well, it's good that you don't. I always think that it's good not to own a lot of things because then they end up owning you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a lot
Very
of
well
life
said.
left,
Yep.
I mean, I learned that one. That's why I
Mhm.
got an airplane hangar full of fucking bullshit. I don't even know why I bought 16 dinette sets.
I always tell
I don't
people
even know
you're
why.
you're a hoarder with money, which is like the worst combo.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. But anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, back on track.
so you don't think they're ever going to release Epstein list either?
It does look like there's an effort by a certain faction
Yeah.
around Trump or somewhere up there to release something.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly Epstein didn't keep a list, so that's kind of a colloquial term.
Yeah.
But I do think there's an effort to declassify the documents. I just don't think it's as simple or transparent or as all of them as we might hope. Like, I presume that there are definitely people still in the government apparatus that are doing everything they can to stop it.
of course.
I would assume there's people in the government
That's why
apparatus
they're in the
covering things up
government,
right
don't
now,
you
Yeah,
think?
right?
that's their job.
That's why
Exactly.
they're elected or
Yeah.
selected, I mean.
But like Cash, I haven't heard a peep from Cash on a bunch of his promises, and I've not been like trailing it like a hardcore journalist, but would love to have heard more about his whole FBI museum that he was going to do and whatever else.
Well, I had heard through the grapevine that there was that raid in New York. That was real. I don't know if you know
when they
about
went
that.
up
Yeah, I
with
did see
the trucks and
something about
removed the
that.
evidence.
And that it's currently, this is what I've heard from my sources, that it's currently going through the process, the legal process to be released.
Yeah.
And it's being vetted by the FBI. Of course, the people I'll stop saying your side, my side, but the people that think Epstein is Mossad only, it's being covered up. They're giving him enough time to destroy all the Israeli connections is one of the popular theories.
God.
Well-
Yeah, I don't think they could anyways.
No,
like,
you
can't like take pieces out of an operation and pretend that it. Because
Also,
we already have so much evidence of who was involved with him
Well,
and
let's
what
just
was
go right
there.
to it.
Oh,
What is it?
Yeah.
What was the Epstein thing? Let's see if we agree on that.
My perspective on the Epstein thing
Mhm.
is that he is one node in a network of trafficking that has been going on long before he got there.
He's
And-
one pimp, you mean, in a big
Exactly.
machine? Yeah, I
and
think
he
so
was
too.
I
recruited
agree.
up through what I see as a sort of Jewish pipeline to one of the Israeli nodes of that network. And that network, I assume, based upon what we see as evidence in the bigger picture of history and just on him.
Why do you say it's Jewish? You think everyone involved was Jewish?
he's
in
saying
his node
he's saying that-
specifically, like
What
in
do you
his
mean
pipeline?
node?
So, like, the trafficking networks have lots of pimps and lots of targeting.
Oh, you mean in his,
operations.
territory.
What do you
like
call
his
it?
network of people.
Constituency?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because and that's like totally fair game. Like if you are, an Italian person recruiting
Yeah.
for like a mafia arm of a criminal organization,
Yeah.
you'll be recruiting from Italian circles. And so
Right, exactly.
he came up through one of the Jewish arms of that recruiting network as
Yeah.
he went from banking into arms trafficking into blackmail somewhere in the 80s and 90s. And
Yeah,
the
just
people
say
around
banking.
him were
Just say banking. No, I'm kidding.
yeah,
Yeah, I
right?
was gonna say.
well,
Okay. Yeah, okay.
and so he wound up in what looks very much to me like an Israeli network or Israeli backed by part of the Israeli deep state.
Yeah.
And I think that's a critical distinction is that just like our CIA is full
Uh-huh.
of good CIA officers at the
Mhm.
lower levels doing their thing, thinking they're patriots, and they
Mhm.
are.
Yeah.
But there are deep staters at the top of those organizations that are running black ops. And we
now
don't
I'm
know
going to
about
blow your mind. This is one mind blower.
Yeah.
I hope I see your eyes go back and forth when I blow people's minds, their eyes always go like back and forth for a minute.
Uh-huh.
What if they're all the same deep state?
Oh, I think they are.
They are.
Absolutely.
All worldwide. They're all the same fucking 1,500 guys.
I think so. 100%.
Some of them are Jews. Some of them are Italians. I mean,
Yeah.
they work for the owners of the world,
I completely agree.
right?
Yeah. And I think that within that group, like obviously they are all individual people.
Right.
And they do fight for power, probably. Like a lot of them are billionaires. Some of them are many, many millionaires, right?
I think it's all the billionaires. I mean, you can
Seems
find
likely.
the guilty right there. They're all fucking billionaires.
Yeah.
All the guilty are billionaires or trillionaires. They're
But not
probably
all
trillionaires
billionaires
now.
are deep staters. Like I know there are some billionaires that are not deep staters. Although they probably swim in the same circles and are
Well,
probably
they
tried to be
got to go to
recruited.
parties.
They don't have to.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
Depends how you made your billions. Like I'm speaking, for example, the first billionaire
You
I met
don't
in my
think
life.
all billionaires hang out together?
Not all, no. And I'm
Okay.
speaking specifically about Nicole Shanahan was the first billionaire I met in my life.
We
And she's an
love-
incidental
you're right.
billionaire where she
She's
like
not
inherited
like
her
that.
billions from Sergey.
You're right. We love Nicole.
Yeah, she's
You're
great, right?
Yeah, she's not
And
like
she's
that.
seen the other side of Sergey.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah,
really
yeah,
woke
yeah.
her up, right?
Yeah.
So but you're right.
You're
that
right.
Most billionaires
You're right.
are
Let's
that's how you
make
become a billionaire.
let's make sure we
They're
all
not
do
going to
this.
hang out with people like,
Let's-
me, a simple millionaire.
Yeah.
Let's
You
not say
peasant.
all at any point today. Let's all be very
Exactly.
no all.
But I agree that this deep
Most.
state network
Yeah,
is
most.
across all of these
Of course.
like organized crime and deep government
Yeah.
networks, right? And maybe some of those networks have more power than others, and some of those criminal organizations have more power than others, but they're always working together.
Yeah.
And so, like the history
It's
of
a
the CIA,
mafia.
yeah, the
It's
CIA has
territory.
been working with the mafia, they've been working with the mob, they've been working with Israel, they've been working with Saudi, they've been working with everyone.
Mhm.
They
And
work
so
with the EU. They work
Exactly.
with Switzerland. But you guys say those other names too.
Yep.
Don't just say Jews.
Well, I try not to. Yeah, I intentionally try, and I think that it's actually. I think that the people that do just say Jews, like I do try to hear them and listen to their perspective and,
Yeah.
and hear their arguments rationally and learn if I can source what they're saying. But also I think it is reductive in the sense that it undervalues your own argument because clearly they're like Bill Gates is not Jewish, right?
Right.
Bill Gates is an evil piece of shit, and
Yeah.
you can just look at his crimes. Like Hillary
Prince
Clinton and
Andrew.
Bill Clinton are not Jewish,
Right.
right? And so if you get reductive and just look at one group only, you're just inherently going to undermine your own argument because you're not actually going to get the whole picture, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is what I wanted to say at the beginning, but I forgot. If you're somebody who believes that there are no good Jews, this show, you better just turn this off.
Yeah.
And we
But
just
there
lost
are
half
some
our audience.
people who think that.
There are, and it's wild because like flip
Yeah.
that around. And so what the anti-Israel crowd loves to do is like flip those words about Israel and say the other side, and that would be. But if you say there's no good Jews, flip that to like
There's no good Muslims.
white people, black people,
Yeah.
Muslim
Yeah.
people.
It's all DEI
And
bullshit.
I know there's people on Twitter that are clip that and be like, yeah, there are no good black people.
Yeah. I'm going to clip it and put it
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
No.
And it's like, cool, man.
Yeah.
Believe whatever you want to believe. I still don't.
That's
hate
why
you for
I
it,
would
but-
never say the blacks did this.
Yeah.
You know,
Or the
but they say
Christians.
the Jews. It really pisses me off because there's like 150 different kind of Jews.
Yeah. And Jewish people, I think, go through so much more, especially around the Israel questions. Like,
Yeah.
figuring out how to align and how to speak about it is 10 times harder for a Jewish person.
Yeah.
Because you have all this cultural pressure, all this family, like, you have all this history, you have all your personal, like, relationships to the issue. It's just way
Well, and the
way wilder.
Bible.
Yeah, and you're emotionally connected spiritually.
Right?
It's your
It's your nation, your hope, your
Yeah.
people, your tribe, your religion.
Plus, one thing that people never
Your history.
mention is that it's really the last Jewish state. Yeah, there's Jews in New York and Jews in LA, but
Mhm.
this is a Jewish state.
It's the only one.
It is the only one, but even then, it's not really even a Jewish state because it's the Al-Aqsa Mosque is in the middle of Jerusalem. It's invaded and colonized. You can
It's
make that argument. Occupied. But what I'm saying is, when you're talking to Christians or Muslims on this argument from our side, it's like, hey, you got 56 countries and 1 billion fucking people. We can't even have one, and there's like 7 million people there, and we're having the same argument with you guys.
And it's integrated.
It is integrated, but it's like, why are we having
It's the
this
only
discussion?
integrated state in the whole effing Middle East.
It is. That is true. And you had said something really good on Twitter, which was if the Vatican was the last Christian stronghold, let's say Islam takes over and starts beheading Christians all
Well,
over the
they
world.
are doing that.
They are. But let's say it gets to the point where Christians are now holding just the Vatican. This is their one space. And we're like, hey, those Vatican, they were priests raping kids and they transferred, they were in with the child trafficking. And those fucking Christians are horrible. Like, that's terrifying if you're a Christian at that point. That's how we feel. And
Yeah.
I wanted to make that point, and you made that on Twitter, and that's why you're here, because
Mhm.
you were very generous about it. Sorry you're scared.
I'm gonna have a very hot take on this that'll
All right.
piss all sorts of people
Oh,
off.
good.
Let's
I
go.
love that.
Let's go.
But and it's important to state that I'm not really like a traditional Christian, so I do not speak for Christians in any way.
Yeah.
But I would argue that you actually just elucidated in another way the reason why I think that Israel is not good for Jewish people, on like conceptually speaking, in the sense that if I am a Christian and what represents Christianity has been reduced to just one country as like our last hope for Christianity,
Mhm.
and we've decided that that country, that state, is representative of my religion, and the Vatican is that country,
Mhm.
fuck that. The Vatican is evil, and the Vatican is a deep state apparatus for centuries, and the Vatican has so many scandals and like all
Yeah.
the trafficking or child abuse
100%.
scandal. And so it's like I would never want the Vatican to have to represent my religion.
Absolutely.
And so Judaism
Well,
went through this.
millions of Catholics do.
Yeah.
Exactly, right. And I do not get that read. Like, that's a weird decision to make about, whatever.
People are emotional.
But Judaism went through a transformation when Israel was founded, where Jews had a correct me if I'm wrong, but Jews had like an international identity as like wanderers, as sort of
Right.
like God's lost people, right? But still very tied by that to each other, right? Even
Well,
when
it was nationalistic.
exactly,
It depends on where you were. If you were a Jew in China or Ethiopia or Yemen or Saudi Arabia or Iran, you were always identified as other. So it was
Absolutely.
not your home. You were the people of Moses on your driver's license, and it always related to, Israel, the Zion.
yeah.
I mean,
And I'm not
so-
claiming it was easy or good
Yeah,
for
but
them.
that's the reality.
Yeah.
Is there is only one place, and of course
Yeah.
it's the land over which our sacred and ascended masters are buried, and of course we want to be there so we
Yeah.
can visit because all of our holidays are about paying homage to our teachers and leaders. So, of course, we want to be there, and we don't want our holy places shat in as they were under Muslim rule.
Right.
We want to control, we want sovereignty over, our homeland. And that's what people don't understand, which is horrible. But what they also don't understand is that it's very much about tribal rights versus corporate rights. And it's one of, they went in the Middle East and destroyed Islam as a conquering, supremacist, and colonial occupier, does everywhere and always has. They aren't even from the Levant. The Arabs are from the peninsula of Arabia. And they came in and killed, the Macedonians, every single tribe, and took over their lands and declared them Muslim lands. And we all know history. And, that's how it's going right now in Europe. Mm-hmm. And that's how it's about to go in America. But the media, for some reason, doesn't cover any of that. It doesn't cover a whit of it because it's too busy talking about Jews in Israel, which is, to me, well, I won't even go, but I'm like, Israel is what America used to be. It's like, we're going to kick their fucking ass. We're going to kick their fucking ass. They attacked us on 7 fronts after a massacre. We're going to kick their fucking ass. We're going to beat them back. If I was the prime minister or the president of this country, I'd blow fucking Iran sky high. I wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah.
But that would start a global war.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't, because I'd get China. I'd do a twofer. I'd get Russia too. I'd get them all. I blow every fucking one of them sky high.
That's the definition of a world war.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have time to hit me back.
She'd end the world war in 2 days.
I'd just end the whole fucking world.
Can I jump in on the media thing you said, though? Because
Yeah.
I think we might agree on I want to retell it to you and see
Okay.
if you agree with what I'm going to say.
Okay.
Is because you were saying that we're not hearing a lick about this sort of like, it's not just Muslim invasion, but sort of this like migrant invasion.
I love Muslim
right?
people,
No, we're talking
and I know
Islamists.
that the Muslim
Yeah.
people hate the Muslim Brotherhood worse than I do,
Yeah.
because it's ruined every one of their countries, Egypt, Iran, every place, Yemen, which are all 56 Arab countries, by the way, while they were saying about how Israel's an occupier, are now Judenrein.
Means no Jews allowed.
No Jews. They're all under Muslim rule with no Jews. So we don't look at two sides of anything. When they're goading us into this, I call it Qatari Muslim Brotherhood propaganda, which taken over all the media here. And it just says the evil Jews, the evil Jews. I mean, that's Islamicism.
Yeah,
And-
but like you're not talking about like MSNBC and CNN and Fox, are you? You're talking about like the decentralized sort of like
I'm talking about them
alternative
too, because they're stupid fucking opinions too. They don't even know who was let across this border.
But
They don't
they're-
even
so-
know about the cells ready to explode this summer.
Yeah, I agree
under
that they're not
Democrat-
talking about the
under
invaders.
the Democrat bullshit.
Well,
But they're also not blaming the Jews. Like the mainstream media, like CNN, MSNBC, Fox, like they are totally not blaming the Jews. They are very pro-Israel.
Are you
For the most
shitting me?
part. Yeah.
Are
there
you
there are
kidding?
Democrat commentators that have started to walk towards like, just telling Palestine side of it, but they're certainly not like blaming the Jews for it on mainstream media.
Well, I don't
I
think
think
would do
they
that.
are. I
Yeah.
think it's very hidden, but I think they are. I think they are when they say Israel and war crimes. That's bullshit. About
Well, I mean, the International Criminal Court.
well, that's bullshit. That's
Yeah.
George Clooney's fucking commie Turkish wife.
Right.
That's horse shit. She's fucking one of the Muslim Brotherhood. Fuck her. She just got taken. Trump said she's not even welcome in this country. Fuck her. Why don't you go get? Why don't you go get one of those? What are they called? Mullahs there in Iran. Letting people rape and murder women in the streets. Why don't you arrest one of them motherfuckers for once? They don't. Hey folks, it's Roseanne here. I'm so excited to tell you about Diet Smoke, the brand behind award-winning gummies, vapes, and pre-rolls designed to help you relax, unwind, and discover your perfect vibe. Remember that tweet I shared last year about their Acapulco Gold gummies? It blew up so much they completely sold out. Well, they're back and better than ever. These little gems are smooth, uplifting, and exactly what you need to add some serious relaxation to your life. Here's why I swear by Diet Smoke. Relaxation for every vibe, whether it's gummies, vapes, or pre-rolls, they've got the perfect product to help you chill. Fast and reliable shipping. Your order arrives in as little as 48 hours because who wants to wait to feel good? Happiness guaranteed. Their lifetime happiness guarantee means if you're not satisfied, they'll make it right. And here's the best part. For a limited time, Diet Smoke is offering 20% off your entire order just for my listeners. Head over to www.dietsmoke.com and use the code Roseanne at the checkout. It's 2025. Treat yourself to the best relaxation products out there. Trust me, you deserve it. Don't wait. Check it out before they sell out again.
The point I was getting to, though, is that I think that...
No, you're fine. This is good.
Is that the media... I don't think they're not talking about the invaders because they're controlled by the Muslim Brotherhood. I think the media's not talking about them because they're controlled by the overlords of our whole world.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
which
that's
is for the same reason why they didn't talk about COVID, right?
Yeah. And the overlords of our whole world, let's get really serious. Who are they?
The organized crime networks paired with the intelligence agency networks paired with the bankers. The three arms of owning everything. As in, you need to have the governments under control through the intelligence networks.
Absolutely.
You need to have the money under control through the banking networks.
Absolutely.
You need to have the criminal organizations under control because that's how you really control everything.
Absolutely.
And they went in the order of banks, organized crime, intelligence agencies.
And this is not a specific religion or group. Right?
No,
It's
no.
just
Every
the people in
group
power.
and religion participates. The
Exactly.
Saudi government
Absolutely.
participates in the
Hell
same
yeah.
practices.
They
Because this
all
is
do.
just
Hell yeah.
like military theory.
I just want to...
Yes, absolutely. We're in total agreement.
Right?
Yeah,
and
we
I
are.
would argue that those groups are the ones that are, in their various ways, all of those groups that are not American,
Yeah.
they're all subverting America by getting this invasion going. And they're doing the same thing in
Absolutely.
Europe, right?
Absolutely.
Because they don't want nationalism. They want globalism.
We got to be real clear. He's talking about traditional mainstream corporate media because there is a huge push online, and if you go through the comment sections or
totally.
independent, where it is, it is the Jews or it's whatever. But yeah, CNN.
Well, they're
and
testing the waters here, but I always.
But he's just so we're clarity before agreement. He's saying the mainstream corporate media is not blaming the Jews or any of that stuff.
And if they ever got there, that'd be
internet.
I
wild, and I would
think
not be
the
with it.
whole fucking Democrat Party is blaming the Jews. I think they have Hamas in Congress. I think their leader is, AOC, and even Bernie and that schmuck, what's his name? The fat girl actresses, Schumer.
Schumer.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you guys think of Schumer as like a prominent Jew but Democrat?
Chuck
and like,
Schumer?
Chuck Schumer gets
He's
all
married
kinds
to
of,
a man like
Yeah.
they all are. For
Yeah.
one
Why are they
thing.
all married to
Huh?
dudes? Why are they all
Chuck
married to
sure
men?
seems to be.
I'm telling you, closeted gays.
I'm telling you what, I
That's who
believe
runs
there
everything.
is, like I've said on Alex Jones, the world's largest religion runs everything. And the world's largest religion, the oldest religion, is Satanism.
Yes.
And they run it all. And
agree.
they have their secret societies. They're infiltrated in religions. They're everywhere. And they run it on kids. And
Yep.
period. That's it. And
High
that's
five.
what everybody should know and stop letting them divide us from doing something about just
I
that.
completely agree.
Do you agree with me?
Yeah,
100%.
and so like for example, you look at the Catholic Church; they've got all kinds of scandals about raping kids
Yeah.
and trafficking and work with the mafia. That is like
Documented.
Satanism all through, right?
100%.
The American CIA, you've got the Finders scandal. Satanism straight up in that scandal, right?
Straight up.
And then, but you look at Jeffrey Epstein in Israel, like that, like he's a Jewish person that clearly was a worker of Satan.
100%.
Like, and he's not
He's-
working on behalf of
No,
all Jews when he
he
does
has
No,
a
that.
Jewish
100%.
name, but he's a Satanist.
I don't think
Exactly.
I don't
right?
Please, can we
Exactly.
just say that?
Yep.
Because
And a lot
I'm
of
so sick of it. I am so sick
We're
of
in
it.
agreement.
He never kept Shabbat, for God's
Yeah,
sake.
I don't
that's what
consider
I'm
him a
saying
Jew,
is that
yeah.
these people in all the religions,
Yeah,
when
they're
they
all the
turn to that
same.
evil, they are serving evil.
They're
right?
Satanists.
Yep.
They believe that Moloch has power, and They think they're pulling a fast one on God. They think they're like doing some kind of triangulation to get one over on God.
Yep.
But they're not, and they're stupid.
Uh-huh.
And like I always say, y'all are going down. The Bible says in this Jubilee year, y'all are going down, you're done. We know you're cooked, you're caught. And, we're just seeing how much damage you're going to create before you just walk away. And I would pray that you just walk away. Let somebody decent who cares about children take your job. You got enough money. Bye-bye. Go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is absolutely a war between good and evil, God and the devil.
It is.
That's it. We all know this. We're in agreement, right? I mean, I know you're not religious. You're becoming more religious.
Yeah.
But you would agree with that.
Oh, I'm definitely developing spirituality and religion.
Yeah.
Well, you have to, or you just have to have an anchor and a battery, I think.
Yeah. And I think, too, for me, it was twofold. It was in this job learning more about the satanic forces in our world, like real satanic cult scandals that you can read evidence of. So I'm like, okay, there are people taking that seriously, so I should look into God more. And simultaneous to that, I was starting to think more about how do you raise kids in this modern 2025? Like, for example, the OnlyFans girls that are competing to destroy their destroy womanhood in themselves more, all over our Twitter feeds. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And how do you protect young people from like our cultural traps and these like sinful, evil parts of our society?
Well,
so
like I say, for everybody, I can tell just looking at them, they're molested. They were molested, and that's why they end up like that.
Cycles of abuse.
That's why they end up hateful. That's why they end up
100%.
getting joy out of destroying people. That's what happens to you when you get molested as a kid. We better do everything we can to stop that from happening.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it happens by authority figures.
Mm-hmm. CPS.
And the worst being by religious, spiritual.
Yeah.
That is a pact with the devil
Yeah.
to destroy a
And
child's
parents
soul.
and family members.
Yeah.
Well,
most
that is
Deep
just
betrayal of-
deep, horrible.
Isn't that the most common perpetrator is a family member?
And it is also, to link it back around, it is one of the most common tactics used by this satanic network, by whatever this deep state network is.
Trauma-based mind control.
Yeah, exactly. And the CIA was studying that deeply all through Project MK Ultra, and they scrubbed a lot of that. They destroyed like 97% of the documents or whatever. But it's pretty obvious that they were realizing that the number one way to mind control people is dissociative identity disorder.
That's right.
And dissociative identity disorder comes out of childhood sexual abuse more than anything else.
And
100%.
trauma.
Exactly.
And see, I think that whole thing in Gaza is the UN Satanists. I think they're all Satanists. And they found a way to use USAID to do what they always do, because it all comes from German mind control, Project Monarch, when we brought all the Nazis over here. And the Nazis did not lose, they won, and they came to America. And they took over our space program, our medical association, and so many more things. You can search it on Google.
Well, yeah,
But-
Alan Dulles was instrumental in all those paperclip operations.
Yes, and it basically comes down to forced Nazi-like experimentation on captive populations. That's what a lot of the black ops are about, torture and murder of children, and then they study it like those Nazis in their notes, But that's what I think they're doing to the children of Gaza, the UN. I think their goal is to make child assassins with no memory banks. That's what they did in all the MK Ultra studies here in America on the children, like my friend Kathy O'Brien. It was to deliver messages to power and be a sex slave. That's what they want the children to be, and to be able to kill without any memory or conscious memory or conscience.
Mm-hmm.
That is so I'm hearing you right. That's actually a wicked idea that I've never thought of, as in like a population-wide experiment of can you turn a huge number of the population of an entire place into killers if you put them through a certain treatment.
Well,
that's what it is.
It's Nazi experiment, mind control experimentation. Because why, and it's on the world too, because the world never asks, one thing they never ask is, why don't you return the hostages so the war could end? They never say that. And the other thing they never say is, why don't you put those children that you're crying over, why don't you put them in those tunnels that billions of dollars built? Why don't you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the tunnels could never fit hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, they could. They're miles and miles and miles long, and they traverse all
If they were miles and miles and miles long, wouldn't we have video of them from the IDF getting into them?
they do.
I've seen video of like small underground compartments.
No, have you seen the Philadelphia corridor? This
No.
was all a subterranean war, which, that's what I think's really going on.
She's into dumbs. Are you into dumbs?
Dumbs are wild. Yeah, dumbs
Yeah,
are a
that
whole
shit-
rabbit hole.
I mean,
Yeah,
they got
she's into
cities
that.
down there.
I just like in
There's
order for
underground cities
Gaza
everywhere.
to have been able to build dumbs level like infrastructure underground,
Well, they have
like they
billions.
clearly would have needed something other than Gazan infrastructure to build.
they
that.
did. They did.
I just haven't seen any evidence of that.
Oh, I'll show
being
it
real,
to you.
Yeah.
It goes right into Egypt, and it goes all the way through tunnels to Iran too. It goes all over the fucking place, like here in America. Like,
Oh, it's definitely all over here in America.
I mean, from
It's
the
everywhere.
Long Beach
Yeah.
port all the way, it like stops at the.
Well, how would you move children? We know children trafficking.
We
child
move
trafficking.
children every day on
Yeah.
barges into ports everywhere
But
around the
underground,
world.
there's underground. The White House, D.C. There's underground cities everywhere. It's not a new thing.
That's where they move all the
Why would
kids
we
in the
think?
world.
Why would we think Gaza wouldn't be able to do that?
It's a huge trafficking site
Do you think?
for the Satanists in the UN, and you know who? And it goes to the royals in Sweden. That was exposed. It goes to the royals, and they all have their castles where they do their shit, and that's how they keep their power, all the way up to Switzerland. And the crowning glory of the world, where the owners are, is the Bank of International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they are. They decide who lives and who dies. They keep track of every penny.
Yep.
And I mean,
So, do you guys think those same tunnel networks extend under Israel too?
oh yeah, they
Yeah.
go from
I
they
think
go
they're-
from under the Temple Mount
I think everywhere has them.
Interesting.
all the way to the Vatican, where they stole everything.
Yeah. Makes
They
you wonder
stole
about the Boring
everything.
Company a little bit.
The what?
The
company?
what?
The Boring Company is Elon Musk's tunnel building
Oh,
company.
Yeah, I
You
didn't
know
know
about that?
No, but
No,
now
I
you-
don't
Yeah,
know
it's one
about
of
that.
it's Elon's like one of his biggest companies that no one ever
I've
talks
never
about or
heard of
knows
it.
about is that he realized, oh, all this tunnel infrastructure that we need in the next generation. Let's cure traffic. I'm going to invent a really efficient way to build tunnels, and he built like a mechanism by which, and this has been happening already. Like Boring
Didn't know
Company's
this.
been in operation for almost a decade now, where he built a very, very, very cheap way to just basically send a robot underground, I believe, and basically just have it go dig tunnels on its own, is my understanding. And it dramatically decreased the price of tunnel building. And
Wow.
no one ever talked about Boring Company, but
Never heard
Elon
of this.
Musk has this giant tunnel building company
That's
that I'm
crazy.
sure has contracts with, secret whatever organizations.
Of course.
Damn it,
Digging
Elon's one of
things
them.
around
You
underground.
know, Elon Musk was raised in that shit.
He sure seems to have been.
Have you looked into his childhood?
A
at all?
little bit, yeah. And it's always hard with people like him, like, for example, like Obama, or it's like these people that are like
He
larger
was
than
too.
life. Yeah, it's hard to get enough triangulation on the
Right.
early sources to feel confident that I'm getting the true
Right.
story. But whatever story you get,
I got info
it's,
for you.
yeah, it's weird, right?
It's definitely weird.
It's like it's the conspiracy of conspiracies.
Yeah.
And once you crack that, you're like, oh my God, the thing with the Jews is 101 level. I mean, it's so much bigger than
I would argue there's some pretty deep ones in the Jewish side. It's just figuring
course.
out if they're legit or if like what part of it is real. Because like the Jewish banking families
Yeah,
that
the Rothschilds, you
yeah,
mean?
that like
Mhm.
Rothschilds being the easiest example,
Mhm.
that sort of, I mean, in a lot of ways revolutionized, international banking through the
Mhm.
1600s, through the 1900s. It's like, did they really stop having so much influence? Because I think they're a great example of a family that is like the worst of
Yeah,
Jewish
they-
people. They do not represent Jewish people,
No.
but they certainly represented one of the largest power networks in the entire world for
Well,
100
they're
years
the
or more.
that's what they're the scapegoat in the agreement
What do you mean?
that the Satanist royals make. They agreed to play the part of the scapegoat, which comes from
Interesting.
old mythology and Babylonian shit. That's why they always wear the goat's head at all the parties.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
And they worship the goat, which is the scapegoat.
Yeah.
Because their thing is like everybody, like the boule, you know about the boule?
Mhm.
Okay, well, they sell out black people.
Yep.
Like, I'll tell you about Israel in a minute, but the Rothschilds get rich by selling out Jews and then
Mhm.
stealing their property. That's how George Soros got rich, too. So everybody gets rich by selling out their own tribe. That's what happened to the Indians,
That's how
too.
Diddy got
Sacrifice.
rich.
Yeah.
That's how everybody gets
It's your
rich.
sacrifice. It's your
Yeah.
payment.
Yeah,
what
that's your.
sacrifice is.
That's how you get in.
So then I'm really curious how that makes you feel about the founding of Israel, as the Rothschilds were instrumental in the money side of that at the time.
Okay, well, you want as my mother says, good, they owed it for all they stole from us, for all they sacrificed us. They fucking owed it. My grandmother's blood and her mother's blood paid for their filthy money, and they owed it.
The Rothschild family did?
They owed it.
But doesn't that give you concerns about what the true intentions and how, like, who the powerful people that were in the organizing like echelon at the founding of Israel? If like the organizers of the beginning of Israel are the Rothschilds, and a lot of that funding came from mobsters over here. Like a lot of the
founders of America were slave owners.
Oh, they were shitty people.
Okay, so who gives a fuck? This is now.
Exactly.
Well, because America, we're 300 years away from that.
It was a desert, and they built it into beautiful cities, and they do great technological work for the benefit of humanity. And so this is now. It ain't then.
But what I'm saying is that in America,
for the land. No, I'm talking about Israel. They paid for the land. They said that.
But we're only like one generation removed from those people.
No, we're 2 generations.
Like, for example, Ari Emanuel, who owns Endeavor, like one of the biggest entertainment groups in America. Ram Emanuel, like these are very powerful 3 brothers, right? The Emanuels. Their dad was in the Irgun. And so so there's a generation of power people in our world right now that are one generation removed from the founders of Israel. And a lot of those founders were, probably very
secular.
I'm saying that there's probably people that were good and people that were bad in those founding groups, but a lot of them were doing things that were atrocious, or were just obviously like mobsters or Rothschilds.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Well, there was a war. If you're talking about Irgun, there was a war against the British. So just like the Irish did, they had to bomb some shit.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, like, does that, from your guys' perspective as Jewish people, do you guys have concerns about how like that influence of bad people in the mix at the time during the founding?
Of course.
Do you worry about their like running thread of?
Well, I worry about.
Because a lot of them are still there and they do bad things still. And so, like I was going to say, when I said all the guys that are in the deep state, no matter their religion, race, or creed. Well, we know their creed's the same, but their religion, race, or nationality, they're all the same guys, and there's not a lot of them, but I gave a speech about the October 7th massacre, and, now it's just kind of coming out now because they made the general resign, and he admitted that he didn't do a good job.
The IDF general?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
And he didn't do a good job for the Israeli people, but he did a great job for the deep state that he works for. And, they wanted to kill a bunch of, it's funny because the leftist liberals, they always kill leftist liberals. And that's what he did because he wanted to blame Bibi, who's kind of like Trump over there.
Mm-hmm.
With everything that's happening in the economy, it feels like we're all walking on shaky ground. Prices are stuck at really high levels, and it seems like nothing's affordable anymore. It's no wonder many people are relying on credit cards to cover the gap. Credit card debt is skyrocketing, and it's leaving a lot of people really stressed out. If you're a homeowner, you don't have to face this uncertainty alone. My friends at American Financing can help you take control. They can help you access the equity in your home to help you pay down that high-interest credit card debt, giving you peace of mind and real saving. On average, people like you are saving $800 a month. Plus, they may close your loan in as little as 10 days. Don't let the chaos of the economy get the best of you. Call American Financing now. It costs you nothing to get started, and you may delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you a cushion in this uncertain time. Call today, 866-890-8585. That's 866-890-8585 or AmericanFinancing.net/Roseanne. He wanted to unseat him, just like over here. It's the same mirrored story, They didn't want to change the liberals in Tel Aviv that are pro-Palestine, Queers for Palestine. They didn't want the judicial system to change over there which was just like Roe v. Wade here, was judicial fiat, where a bunch of ivory tower liberal secularists make the law and deprive the people of their voting rights, just like what happened with Roe v. Wade here. And I was so glad it was overturned, because we can't have judicial fiat in this country.
What's
And
happening now with Trump?
But all the lawfare shit, there was going to be real laws there, and they opposed it, the liberals. But they sacrificed their own that day by not coming to the defense of the peace activists, and the people who were killed were two-staters that wanted to live in peace with Palestinians.
Yeah, and
So
then they also
they
did
were
the Hannibal
sacrificed.
Directive on top of them.
Yes.
You guys know about that?
Yes.
About how eventually that got admitted, that some asshole ordered the Hannibal Directive and killed a whole bunch more Israelis than needed to be killed?
No, I don't know about this.
Yeah, so it's a military doctrine that don't let Hamas take captives, because you might get a situation like this, is what I presume the logic is behind it. But it is the directive that kill all people that are retreating, like kill the Jewish people as well.
Yeah.
And so like all those pictures of those cars that were melted down from the Nova Music Festival, that was done by helicopters. That can't be done by RPGs and machine guns.
I don't know about that, but I've heard it, but and it could be true.
It was
But
recently reported in the Israeli media.
I just don't want to
so.
take away from the fact that these people in 20 communities were butchered and slaughtered when people came over their border, which is a war crime. And,
Is it actually a war crime?
yeah,
I don't know.
It's a war crime in the UN to violate your neighbor's borders. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a war.
Or at least a declaration of war.
No, if you're attacking civilians, it's a war
attacking
crime.
civilians
Yeah,
is a war
true,
crime.
cool.
Yeah, they wouldn't attack like an IDF base.
Yeah, well said.
Employing children, teenagers, as soldiers or terrorists, whatever you want to call them, that's another war crime. And I mean,
Using children as human shields is a war crime.
I would love to get into that, because I don't think that's a very legitimate argument.
Well, hold on. I want to go back,
It
because
is,
we have
though.
so many things. You
Yeah.
asked me, about the founding of Israel. I wanted to respond.
Yeah.
You said something I find interesting, especially you're wearing a Patriot shirt, so I know you're like me. You love this country.
Yeah.
You said this was 1 or 2 generations removed from the founding of Israel, and that the founding of America, which was done by horrible people, was 300 years ago.
not
so.
necessarily
No, this is what
horrible.
this is what he said.
Well, they had like moral things that we would not condone today, right?
My point is,
Well, you
so
can't
is there?
compare.
Can I ask? Is there
Yes.
is there a time limit that's acceptable to
No,
you?
good question. Because I would clarify too that we still have all those threads of evil in
That
our
was my
nation,
next
right?
question.
Our
Every
deep state is
nation
still
does.
alive and well.
Right.
Right. It's just
So-
in Israel, we're only like 4 generations into that process,
But
5 generations in some cases,
what's
maybe.
the difference with
Well,
Israel?
we
Can I
disagree
please-
with that. Huh?
If Israel's founded by terrible people and doing terrible things, and America's doing terrible things still, why are you more critical of? And I'm not saying
I'd
you're
argue
not.
I'm just as critical of
You are very
America
critical
as
of the U.S.
Israel.
I'm not saying, but you just said the U.S. thing was 300 years ago, and Israel was 1 generation removed. So you're already making a separation.
Yeah, I was sort of trying to nudge the fact that, because I would think that Roseanne and yourself both have these criticisms of the American government and see these
And Israel.
threads of
And
evil in the
Israel.
American government,
And
right?
Israel.
So I was just pointing out that like the same process of like the evil people that were involved in the founding of Israel, and I would loosely put that at like Rothschilds, mobsters in America,
Right.
and the
English.
terrorists, the more terrorist bent of the like freedom fighters. Those threads of those people were deeply involved in the leadership of Israel all throughout its history. Like,
Correct.
for example, Menachem Begin
Yes.
being the prime minister after having been like the planner of the King David hotel bombing.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things have colored the history of Israel. And because it's a more truncated history, each of those items is even more significant to what we get the composition of it being today, in the sense that Jeffrey Epstein was trained by people that are only halfway back in that history, like so
Understood.
to speak, right?
Okay.
Whereas America, it's
Well, I think you're going to
long
be
and
ruthless, and you're probably going to be more. Well, it's weird that you would be designated as more ruthless when you think about it. But when you're surrounded by 57 hostile nations and
Yeah.
you're like this big, you probably have to be very
Oh, you do have to be.
paranoid and
Absolutely.
warlike, and jump at the, jumpy. When
Yeah.
when you have 30 seconds to get to your bomb shelter in a unceasing attack of rockets for 70 years.
But that's why I brought up that sort of thread from the founders, because I would argue, I mean, this is hypothetical, obviously, because you can never rewrite history.
Right.
But at the time when Israel was promised, right, the British people that were promising Israel to the Jews were horrible pieces of shit, because they also promised
Everybody's
it
a
to the
horrible piece
of
Muslims
shit.
for that. Like they were like promising it to the Arabs, and they were promising it to France as well halfway.
I remember
they were
reading
promising it all over the place, and ultimately, like those British assholes created a huge conflict here as well as all across the rest of the Middle East, the way they slice it up. But then when Israel was established, the powers that established it did it in the way that they do things, and they were pretty evil people. And so, for example, when the UN, like the British didn't want to deal with, they're like, UN, you deal with this, like you tell them what's going to happen, and the UN made their partition, which call it, you know, not arguing about whether the partition was intelligent or fair or whatever.
No, it gave like 60% of the Israel portion to the Arabs.
Well, I mean, and from my perspective, I would say I think that's fair because they were there at the time.
Jordan Palestine, because that was the Palestinian state. But that wasn't enough for them. They had to take Gaza from the Jews too.
But I mean, from my
'Cause they
perspective,
are
I see that as legit.
No.
Because they were already there. And
No,
so it's
they
like
weren't
the
there.
Jews were
They came
asking
there
to
in the
come.
60s to be Israel's workforce. And then they fucked that up by bombing the places they were working at and making them.
We must be talking about different people.
He's saying they were there when
I'm saying just like the general
Declaration
Arab peoples that
happened
had been
When
living
what
in.
happened?
when Israel was given to the Jews and the
Yeah, I'm just saying like the
mid-40s. There was-
general Ottoman citizens
Yeah.
that were no longer Ottomans.
Well, let me just
No, but I have the whole breakdown of what citizenry
no, but he's just
by
saying
town was living
when they
there.
gave Israel to the Jews, there were people there that were moved out.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
so I'm just saying that from the other like
That's
the
how
other
it
side's
goes.
Yeah, no,
logic-
That's how it fucking
That was my next
goes.
question. Because let me just finish this up. So to answer your
They
question,
also divided India and Pakistan.
Of course.
the
to
same
answer your question,
time.
no, we don't care because we don't care about America's founding or history either because this is our country.
Well, but what I'm saying is that because Israel is surrounded by all those hostile nations,
Yeah.
that would be a very different relationship if that founding had not been first the declaration happening the way it did
Right.
and sort of being bought by bankers and then the Jewish people moving there with militia groups doing terrorist acts against people that were already there and against British people.
Understood.
And like I'm saying that, and you guys are great people. You would never be bombing civilians to get
Well,
your way
I
somewhere.
don't know about that. Give me a
I'd
couple
bomb
days.
every fucking civilian on
Give me
earth
10
that
minutes.
got in my fucking way. Hell
Well, maybe
yeah.
you would. I don't know.
But let me
If
ask
I
you
didn't
this.
have no place else
I'm just
to
saying
go,
that
Please,
makes
I want
enemies.
one question.
That makes
if I
enemies
got
of
off
your
a
neighbors.
German
But-
boat after suffering that shit, I'd kill every
Pilgrims
motherfucker.
came here, right?
And they made horrible enemies of the natives.
Begging to
They-
shame, hell yeah.
They genocided the natives. We know
Yeah.
about the smallpox blankets. We know about Manifest Destiny. We know about the push westward here in the United States. Isn't that way worse than having a declaration from post World War II with England? And when
Well,
they say
plus
we take
the Rothschilds
please let
bought
I've always
it.
wanted to ask him this. They gave it to him, and everyone's like, "Hey, that's not fair. They were given to their people there." It's like, well, natives were here, and we fucking killed their food supply and killed all their fucking
Absolutely.
bison.
It's atrocious.
So
we
you
didn't
prefer
pay
that?
them for the land. We didn't get
No.
a billionaire to pay the Indians for the land.
But hold on, do you prefer that kind of taking
No,
over?
not at all.
So it's there. So I ask you the same question in your Patriot shirt. Like, does it really matter? It's terrible. You can't change history. Where are we now? What are we going to do going forward?
towards moving towards peace. Like, for
I'll
example,
tell
the
you
way
what,
that Native Americans are
needs
treated
to
in America
happen.
is atrocious.
Egypt needs
Disgusting.
to tear down their wall, which is 150
won't.
times bigger wall to block Palestinian exit.
They don't want Palestinians. in Egypt.
No, but most of them have an Egyptian or a Jordanian passport because they were new. They came there to Gaza in the 60s for jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even, they're Jordanian or they're Egypt, but you can tell by their names.
Yeah.
And, the whole fake KGB started, got a Egyptian royal, Arafat, another fucking royal, to go in with the French and stage this whole psyop on the children, on Arab children. That's what it is, a sacrifice of Arab children by Satanists.
Yeah.
Period.
We're in agreement.
Let's
Are you talking
move
about
on.
the founder of the PLO, or you mean
Yeah,
you mean like you're talking about right now the treatment of Gaza?
I'm talking about it's a straight line from the KGB and all their communist shit when they got in bed with Islam, and then brought it back with got Arafat, an Egyptian royal, to get in bed with the commies in France and do this whole Palestinian psyop so they could contain this population of Israeli workers, Arab Israeli workers, and do a friggin' psyop experiments on them like the Nazis they are, through the Bank of International Settlements, the Vatican churches, the Vatican Bank, City of London, all the royal bullshit of Pharaoh, and then just try to turn those kids into assassins or cannon fodder or take their organs. That's what they're doing. Yeah. It has nothing to do with Jews at all. It's all a big fucking psyop of Octagon. Have you read about Octagon?
I don't think so.
Oh,
depends on what you're referring to. You're not referring to the octopus.
No,
right?
that's the Jewish conspiracy.
Octagon.
No, the octopus.
In the Swiss
I'm referring
Alps.
to someone else.
Oh, well, I thought the octopus tentacles were the Jew tentacles.
It does get turned that
both
way,
sides of every war. They don't want no peace. Christ, they make so much money on war.
Yeah, peace is not profitable.
Okay, so we're done. This is great. Can I ask you? Sorry, 9/11.
Yeah.
Right, you're pretty fucking awake on that, right?
I try to be.
Are we in agreement that, because I haven't really got to research you on.
Well, the Jews did it, right?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I thought I remember PNAC, I remember the Bushes, I remember the fucking.
I've certainly have written on Twitter before that Israel did 9/11, which is highly facetious and not like my complete take.
But do you think Israel was involved in 9/11?
I certainly think there's lots of evidence
I did
that Israel
9/11.
was
Fuck, I did it all.
You think more so than PNAC and the Bushes?
More so than the Dancing Israeli files, which have a copious amount of evidence, but also the Israeli art student files.
So
I know, I love those, but don't you think it was Bush and the old regime in Saudi
They were
Arabia?
absolutely a part of it.
They're the only ones that got to
I would argue
play.
that's a perfect example of this bigger world order thing.
Right.
And so everyone that's involved, especially the most powerful players, because let's be honest, not all of those, there's Saudi families in that actually, in this case,
They're dead
the Saudis
now
were involved.
because
That's what I'm
Ben
saying.
Salman killed them all.
Yeah.
They're all dead
But
now.
also
all
the Carlyle
of those,
group with the Bushes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of those people are
oil.
in that group, and they all take a piece of what's valuable to them. So Israel was highly benefited, those Jewish and Israeli families that are in that group. They were like, we want to fucking overthrow these other countries. We want to go to war in Afghanistan. The CIA was like, hell yeah, we want to fucking take over the
They're
opium
all the
production
same
in
guys.
Afghanistan.
PNAC.
Yeah, exactly.
It
and
is
Bush,
PNAC
the Bush
and
family has always
Kissinger.
been a part.
So they're in
Bush,
alignment.
Kissinger, they're all Nazis.
So it's not just the Jews. We're all
No,
in agreement.
but I would
It's
argue
the
that the Jewish
NWO,
side has
the
been
Nazi world
highly
order.
covered
That's
up.
what I call it, Nazi
Yeah.
world order. And
think Jews are
some
better at
Jews
covering
work
up.
for the Nazis, and some Jews work for
Yeah.
the Muslim Brotherhood. And you know what? I'm still a Jew, and I'm a real Jew, so everybody can suck it.
Yeah, and to be clear, just because there were Israeli people or Jewish people that were involved in 9/11 doesn't mean that Jewish people did 9/11.
Right. Thank
Right,
you.
Or
I
that
don't
Jewish
have
people
nothing to do
condone
with it.
9/11 at all.
Your side is
obviously.
going to be so mad at you for saying that. I'm sorry.
I know.
When
it's
you
right.
get out of here,
But
you're
it's going to be very unpopular.
It's such a mind control to get people to talk about Israel and the Jews 24/7 when these friggin' ISIS is in every neighborhood here.
Yeah.
A little bit, but ISIS is not limiting my free speech. There are no speech laws being proposed.
Not yet.
But there are speech laws currently going
No,
through
but
law.
that's not how they do stuff. Like they attacked Israel and then lined all the kids up. Every place there was a
But I'm saying that doesn't affect me directly.
Yes,
and
it
that
does.
is tragic.
Well,
But
no.
my free speech
No.
is already
No,
being
I'm
infringed
with
here.
you on that.
No, but I'm telling you.
I don't like that
Like
shit.
for me, that I'm not booked anywhere because I talk about Islamicism and
Yeah.
the threat of that in America right now because it's boiling. It's getting ready to boil over.
Yeah. Islam is... in my
Islamicism,
opinion-
not
they've invaded.
Islam.
Yeah, well said, well said. Islamicism is deeply concerning, and it has no place in America or pretty much anywhere else.
I would argue it's way more concerning than Jew or any of that stuff because to sit there and think Islam's not going to censor your free speech or that's not part of their plan. They may not be doing it yet. That is their goal.
No,
Yeah, but
but
they
I
don't
said
have the
here's how it
political
is
power
that
to
I
do that.
can't go
Not yet.
on any show and talk about this anywhere.
Yeah.
Even on the internet, they won't have me say
Well, your
this.
tweet mentioned the Muslim Brotherhood. You were canceled
I
all
know.
day. If the Jews ran the media, you'd have been fine the next day.
I don't think it's canceled so much as just the interest. And whether it's misplaced or correctly placed interest, I think right now the interest is so on Israel because for so long Israel was running and I'm not saying all of Israel, I'm saying the deep state of Israel was running targeted influence campaigns on our politicians through AIPAC and on our politicians through Jeffrey Epstein and other
Yeah,
groups.
because just like Five Eyes, America couldn't legally do it. So it's just like part of Five Eyes. They used every one of those governments to spy on Americans.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that influence operation to benefit this whole dark system did keep us from talking about Israel for a long time.
That's
and the
true.
news
That's true.
coverage was deeply skewed
agree.
to just keep
Well,
Israel in the shadows.
deep state keeps us from talking about the deep state everywhere.
Exactly.
Right? So we're agreement. We're in agreement.
And what I'm saying is that now the interest is so shifted to Israel
Yeah.
because so many people are waking up to just that issue for the first time.
Right.
And there's way more issues too.
Yeah.
But it's understandable that like if you're if you're an 18-year-old kid
Yeah.
and you realize like, oh my gosh, and this is what we were talking about earlier about how like it's really easy to then slide all the way down to the Jews run everything,
Right.
which is obviously a flat take that has no texture and not very well thought through if you think it's literally everything.
Right.
And you can debate, if you want to debate with facts, like how much do Jewish people actually control and what is actually evil, but have a debate, like have a textured debate.
That's why
Don't
you're
just
here.
slide into it's all one thing, right?
You know, that's what Alex Jones said when he was on our show. He's like, there are these campaigns. Yes, everybody's guilty. Everybody has a piece of the pie. But if you're just saying just the Jew, this amorphous Jew, and you're ignoring everything
Then
else,
you're a Nazi.
you're an idiot. You're an idiot. And I like to say it this: it's like your first beer when you're 13. You open a beer and you're like, oh shit, this is fun. That's what a lot of these kids are finding when they start connecting the dots and seeing patterns of Israel control. They're not wrong, but it's like your first beer. It's
But
like, oh
what
shit, hold
gets-
on, this is cool, but there's so much
Keep
more
looking,
to it.
right?
Keep looking.
Yeah.
Yes, keep
There's a lot
looking.
going on.
Yes, because let's look at it realistically.
Thank you.
Israel is in so many ways exactly like America.
Mm-hmm.
It has a deep state, and its deep state works with our deep state, works with, MI6. That's the real core of all deep states. And, because whether they say it or not, the Queen gives her assent to every war. The Queen of England or the King of England, who's now a
royals.
Muslim. But, it is creeping, and it is, what's the word?
Festering?
No, Islam is a creeping thing, and it's really smart, and it knows how to get
They're
judges. It knows how to play the system.
They're the shifty Jew painting.
I'm more concerned about the Christian and Jewish side of the deep state, honestly.
Then the
And I'm
Islam?
open to this debate because
No, but I'm
wanna
saying
hear
why? Because why would you attack America's only ally? Why would? No, I'm not saying you're attacking, but why would that be your singular focus? The only republic in
well,
the
I'm speaking
Middle
about
East.
the deep state specifically, not about the nations
Well,
themselves.
then I'm all for that because I want the deep state out of Israel too. Because the
absolutely.
one thing they do is pass laws where Jewish kids can't study Jewish history.
Yeah.
I mean, they do the same shit they do here. You can't talk about the emancipation of the slaves and how what a great thing that was for Americans to have come to.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to continually talk about this. The horror
Entrenched
of
racism
slavery.
and-
Yeah,
yeah.
because they're mind effing us.
Yeah.
And they're doing it in Israel too. Forcibly. Well, it's exactly like America. It's split, and they're beginning to see that they're controlled by a deep state that has no interest in their republic or the rights of its people. And I'm all for that revolution in Israel and in America
All around the world.
and everywhere else, right?
Yeah.
Because we have to throw off the vampires.
And I would argue, I mean, I don't know for sure, but it seems to me like a lot of the Arab world has a similar deep state problem.
Yes, they
and
do.
in some countries it's royal families, and in other countries it almost seems like it's actually like terrorist organizations that like the other parts of the deep state have funded terrorist organizations
they
that are now
fund it.
de facto leaders in a lot of these places. And so it's still the same
So
network
that's the
over
same
that
thing
whole
as Begin.
Menachem Begin.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's Menachem.
Condemnable, yeah.
But
Menachem?
Menachem Begin. But
Yeah.
I mean, terrorists become president every day in the Middle East. It is a Middle Eastern country, but it still has a Western desire for a republic. And my friend said it best. He said, if Israel falls, that means Islam controls the entire Middle East. And does America want that? I don't think so. Does America want Christians in Israel to be beheaded and all of our holy places to be shat in like they did when they did. But here's what it really is.
Good question.
It is horizontal rule by pharaohs and imams.
No,
and,
vertical rule.
Yeah, vertical rule by, powerful, it's vertical rule versus horizontal rule. That's republics where people vote, because they don't vote in the Arab world. So, and that's America too, of, by, and for the people. Now, it may not be that way in Israel perfectly right now,
same here.
nor in
Yeah.
America,
Yeah. Right.
but that's
The ideal.
what we want. Our ideal is for the people to have a say in how they're governed. Well, is this vertical?
Vertical, yeah.
They don't want nothing but feudalism and the
Yeah.
control of women.
And slavery.
So, and slavery. And they still
caste
sell black
system.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't want to apologize for them.
No, I'm
So
not
that's what I'm
apologizing for them
saying.
at all.
I am afraid for young people that they're being so mind controlled that they're actually falling in line with Islamicism unwittingly.
Many are. Yeah, many are.
And that ain't good for America.
But I would argue that more so than any of that, I would rather, I don't give a shit what they do over there. It would suck for them to all be, ruled by a horrible Islamist
But they
sort
don't
of mindset.
stay. They're colonial. They're imperialist. They
Yeah,
don't
to a
stay.
certain degree.
No, to
but
their
where
history.
does that argument end? Are we
It'll
to go
end
to
like
every Muslim country and overthrow their rulers
No,
and
I don't.
install our
I'm
own?
with you, but
No, but
Can
if
I-
they get Israel, then they'll get Greece,
they'll
then
have the
they'll
Middle
get
East, yep.
Turkey, then they'll get
Yes.
That's
Europe.
red fear, though. That's the communist. That's the exact same thing they told us about communism.
but that's true.
Maybe.
No,
Well,
what about
now
that?
commies joined up with the
Yeah.
the Muslim Brotherhood.
who created all of those terrorist organizations that are sort of integral to those
To what?
Islamist networks?
the deep state.
Yeah, our deep state created a lot of those
Yeah.
organizations, right?
Well, because they're
It's
useful
the
to
average Muslim
They're
person is
useful.
not trying to go and take everyone's
100%.
land.
No,
No.
because they have 2 cents.
We're talking about Islamicists. We're not talking about
Yeah.
Muslims. So we're talking about the extreme.
'Cause I mostly just have a problem
Yeah.
with so much of our tax dollars going to Israel
I understand
in order
that.
to drop bombs on
I've tried to
civilians,
explain
largely.
this to her.
That's what I have an issue with.
She doesn't like. Can I set this up?
Yes.
A lot of people on your side, I
Yeah.
do see it. It's like a sort of a libertarian worldview. It's like, why are we getting involved in these foreign wars? Why is our money going to Israel? And I try and tell her a lot because she's very pro-Israel. It's like a lot of these
I
kids
agree
here,
with that, though.
But
I do.
that's a lot of what the Israel hate that you and I see online that we get pissed about is like, why are we sending so much of our tax dollars? We're struggling here.
Yeah.
It's going to Israel and Ukraine. I would push back and say that I don't think Israel and Ukraine are the same thing for reasons she just mentioned. I agree.
They're definitely not the same thing.
No.
They're not. I think
They're both important.
they're both
But I'll
important.
tell you what.
Israel is a satellite base for the U.S. in the Middle East.
That's
and
what
if
I'd
that
like
falls,
to see end.
everything
I would
falls.
love to see that end.
Yeah.
I'm not like other, I say I don't think like other people,
Yeah.
but I would love to see that end because I think that America has, under Biden and Obama, they have forced Israel into a corner that it can't fight from. And, they use it as a puppet state, as a client state.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, I wish Israel would just say, we're cutting off all
Foreign aid.
or cutting off all contact with America until you stop funding the UN, because we fund the UN too. So I think Israel should say,
Although I
we're-
bet Trump is going to change that.
I
will.
hope so.
He will.
I pray to God every day.
Yeah.
But I wish Israel would say, we are no longer a satellite state of the Democrats that are batshit crazy. We don't want none of your money. And I think they're about that close to doing it. And I think that's going to be great for the world, that like American leftists can't dictate, I call them Obama Jews, through, the gays in Tel Aviv, how it's going to go
Yeah.
to make another state in their neighborhood that wants to kill them. Fuck that. I think they should say, America, we're cutting off all ties with you. Won't want one more penny till you defund the UN and be moral, and stop paying for Arabs to kill Jews, because pay for slay. That comes from American NGOs. It's all bullshit. So I think now that I just read about and I think also America has stepped on Israel to go, you can't use your real high-tech weapons. Because Israel could, like Candace Owen did say this, but, she's all confused, whatever. If she's pregnant, hormones and shit, I know how you get. But, I have 5 kids, whatever.
We love Candace.
We love Candace, but, she's always saying, debate me if you want. And then I say, okay, I want to debate you. And then she hides.
Well, then she shares your DMs.
Yeah, but you know what? Come on, let's talk. You know I love you. Let's talk this over.
And
stop hiding.
Yeah.
Stop doing your shit. You know I love you. Come on here, we'll talk. Anyway.
Or you'll go on her show. Whatever. We just want to talk.
I'm not going on her show to see the comments by them fucking
They're gonna come.
anti-Semites. Or as my mom calls them,
We'll do a pod swap.
anti-Semites.
We'll do a pod swap.
Semites.
But, I forget.
You're talking about their high-tech weapons that they don't let
I
Israel
think
use their high-tech
America
weapons?
was stepping on it and going, you can't use that.
What kind of high-tech weapons do you mean?
Well, I'm going to get to it.
The rods of God.
But America was like, we got to make our cut on this because all the aid they give to Israel depends on Israel buying American weapons with it. The people are living like, most people are in poverty.
And that's a deep state money laundering scheme.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
And you know what? We're going to give you extra if you'll get some Joe like Jeffrey Epstein with an egg-shaped penis to blackmail all these people and get Diddy involved. It's all bullshit.
Yep.
I'm telling you.
He knows.
And, So
smart.
I say, Israel, break ties with America till they stop funding the UN and all the Nazis in the UN, nothing but Satanists. And then, okay, that's what's going to happen. I see it. And then Israel's going to be friendlier with their neighbors because America's not going to be using them to steal oil under the ground from the neighbors. Mm-hmm. See, this is what I see because it's right there in the Bible. It says it.
Do you think that Israel would survive that in this conflict? Because some people have this thinking that Israel would collapse without American aid.
No, it would do better.
I think
because
they
would. I agree.
Every technology, Israel's better in technology than China.
I'm actually really concerned about how good Israel is with technology.
No, I'm going to tell you what I saw. Because I'm an old Jewish woman. Everyone will take my calls.
Say again? Sorry, what?
I'm a nosy old Jewish woman, but I'm famous, so everybody will take my calls. So I'm nosy. I'll call them all and ask. I'll ask, and they'll tell me. I don't spill none of it, but I try to digest it for people, whatever you call that.
Yep.
Anyway, so here's what's going to happen. I think Trump got off Israel's ass on the high tech. Because just yesterday I saw they was using their big weapon that I've always been talking about, can pinpoint somebody. Because what it is it senses where a firearm is come from, like a magnet. Ping, you're out of here, pal. You raised a gun at us. Ping, you and only you are going to die.
Is this by drone, or I don't know how this weapon works?
It's such high tech.
I mean, it could probably be mounted on all kinds of things.
They have weaponized drones that are space scan and kill.
And the drones can operate from a commander's voice.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we'll pick you off one at a time. We're not going to have to kill civilians anymore because America made us do that. Because
so you think America was the one behind Israel dropping all those bombs?
Yeah, they sacrificed their own in Israel. Hell yeah, they wanted.
As opposed to Bibi? You don't think Bibi was in charge of that?
I don't think he got it.
What do you mean?
I don't think he's as smart as he thinks he is. And
yeah,
I've been trying to break through that one for a long time, but I think we finally did because he got it with the generals not responding for 7 hours.
I didn't hear about that.
On October 7th.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's why it's a false flag. A lot of people think it's a false flag by Israel because it took so long.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't do nothing. And the women in the army had been telling them for 2 weeks, and they ignored them because, they're girls. They don't have no dicks, huh?
I think that Benjamin Netanyahu was part of the factions that wanted that invasion to kill those Israelis so that they could have an excuse to start this conflict.
I think it was his generals. But he could have been part of it. I don't know.
Either way, there's someone
I mean, everybody's dirty. I don't know, but I think the people waking up to go, you didn't respond. We're going to vote you out, and we're not going to have you have judges that, nullify our votes this time either. People like me, people like you, in this country too, fuck you. You're not going to steal this election. We're going to do the work at the local level. We're going to get rid of all of you. I don't care what your religion, your face, your color, you're all going, because this belongs up to the people for the people's good, and it's our damn money. What the hell?
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
They're all evil at the top, and they depend on children's blood. They love it. They can't get enough of it.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah,
In
I
every
keep
way
on looking
possible.
for hard evidence of it because there's so
Of
much
what?
soft evidence of the various types of adrenochrome
Yeah.
and Satanism and organ harvesting.
Blood
and,
show.
Yeah, and there is real evidence of little bits of each piece of it, but I keep on waiting for us to uncover like how Pizzagate was this huge leap forwards for understanding what was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like I'm waiting for them, for example, when they were busting Jeffrey Epstein's operation, I'd bet there was a certain percentage chance that they would have stumbled across, like suppose they'd gotten into his ranch before they'd been able to clear out whatever was downstairs.
No, there was enough evidence at his ranch.
Right.
That he.
But they disappeared it all.
No, they did. Well, they had testimony. They was all, and Wexner and them, they was all impregnating their slaves
Exactly.
for stem cells,
Yep.
so they could look younger. For
Yeah.
fuck's
That's
sake,
Like John of God down in
Yeah.
Brazil, wherever it was, right?
Oprah's friend.
Yeah, and when they raided him, they actually found the baby breeding facilities. And
Yeah.
so what I'm saying is that there are adrenochrome, like there are facilities breeding whatever the like technical truth
Yeah,
of the
it's stem
adrenochrome
cells.
thing is, right?
Stem cells.
So are you of the opinion that it's like stem cell medications that are illegal because you're not allowed to do research on stem cell, like stem cell things that help you be younger, kind of like drugs, and that rich people are basically doing a bunch of advanced stem cell research because
Yeah.
you get stem cells from fetuses, babies, young
Yeah,
people,
that's what
right?
Epstein was doing at Zorro Ranch,
go. Yeah.
and they were so fucking corrupt and crazy that Epstein and them they wanted to create. They all want to create their master race,
Yeah.
like Hitler and shit. Like Epstein and his
Like
buddies.
Elon.
Epstein and them that don't give a shit about Judaism. They never had a Sabbath in their damn
Yeah,
lives.
he's a gyno, Jew in name only.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
And there he is telling people he's got to have only Jewish baby blood for his super race. That's a friggin' Nazi.
Yeah.
Is what
Yep.
that is, a eugenicist.
Yep.
That's Nazi. That ain't no Jew. So he was trying to get girls pregnant so he could take the fetuses like Hillary Clinton does and sell their livers, I say, to Bill Gates for his
Yeah.
fake meat at McDonald's. I mean,
Now we're
I
getting
am
somewhere.
so way more into the,
Yep.
and it's true. And they all come from Cain.
Now we're all friends.
They're
this?
Cainites. This religion is the Cainite religion of Cain, of Babylon.
Do you think they actually have, like, not all of them, obviously, but do you think that there are actual, like, secret society level books?
Hell
like,
yeah!
passed around?
Of
You haven't heard
Yeah.
of the Masons?
Oh, I've heard of the Masons.
Freemasons?
Although I have a pretty different take on the Masons than I think most do.
What's
It's
yours?
not popular.
I want to hear this.
Oh, I want to hear.
But you
Um,
also said you were afraid of Christian and Jews more than Muslims.
Yeah,
said a
circle
lot.
back to it. Yeah.
Both of those. please.
So Masons, I think when you look at, I'm going to try to speed run three things here.
Yeah.
Masons came from the Knights Templars, right? And the Templars and the early Masons, it's hard to understand exactly what history you're reading, but it seems like there's a common thread where a lot of those people were trying to preserve like the true artifacts of Christ's era, to preserve like the religion beyond the wars and the conflicts
Right.
and the stuff. They were like, the Templars were famous for like trying to go on the Crusades to secretly hide artifacts so they wouldn't be destroyed and all this mythology, right?
I've heard this.
And this is like one thread of that old original founding history, right?
But that ain't true, but go ahead.
And then there's a lot of evidence that when America was founded,
You're the
there was a
best.
bunch of masonry involved in that. There was a bunch of
Washington,
masonry involved in
D.C.
the
is all
documents.
Mason.
100%.
Exactly. And
Masonic.
our Constitution, like the way our country is run,
Yes.
and a lot of the things that are in the American founding that are Masonic ideas are the best ideas about America.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the goodness that America is because those men were Masons and not whatever
100%.
other, like, you know,
They weren't Jews.
Catholic or, yeah, Jews.
They weren't
You know,
Jews.
They weren't the British royal family. So I would argue that when you look at the history of Masonry, there's a clear thread that was noble and good. But I think that like any secret
There isn't
society,
everything at the
Yes.
beginning.
exactly, and
Islam,
every
too.
secret society is always very vulnerable to being taken over
By
because it's
Satanists.
secret. Right?
Well, and it's powerful.
Yeah.
Power attracts bad
Exactly.
Well, the Satanist goes wherever there's money to
Power
steal
attracts.
Yeah.
corrupts.
And nowadays, so I actually have a few friends that are Masons, and Chase Geyser from the Jones crew is one, and he's a really cool dude. And he is really good at elucidating because he is like a regular dude that just looked for it, went and kind of like did their levels. And it's very obvious from those people's testimony that like the bottom level of Masonry now is just a dispersed bullshit kind of just like fraternal order
Yeah.
that has been stripped of all utility, and that likely the upper echelons of whatever is in that kind of secret higher level is
33rd.
nothing like what it was initially supposed to be. And so I'm always really hesitant to look backwards in time and see Masonry and think that I know for sure that it's evil.
Right.
Because I feel like in the founding era of America, a lot of the Masons were probably some of the coolest cats around.
My heroes.
But maybe they were also already being compromised from within at that time, and I just don't. That's so dark and twisted. It's hard to judge ancient, several hundred years back, and read primary sources and pretend like for sure. Similar to why it's like I'm kind of skeptical of a lot of like the Rothschild conspiracy theories, because like they were a very secretive family. There's a lot of conspiracy theories all throughout history about them. Are you reading the primary sources? Like, do you speak the original language of those texts? Do you really think you know what was going on?
Right.
Like, so I always try to be a little.
Well, I do think they're
skeptical
trying
about
to
it.
get themselves on the throne of England.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rothschilds or the Masons?
Both.
Both.
Yep.
It's a power struggle.
Exactly.
It's territory war. It's mafia.
Yeah.
Everything
Because
is
they
mafia
want
territory.
Jerusalem. That's the bottom line in all
I think
of it.
so too.
Yeah, and do you think that there's? I mean, I think you would probably say yes. That there's a actual spiritual, like metaphysical reason why Jerusalem.
Yeah,
Clearly.
Right.
for sure.
I think it's
what's
crazy
under
to
that dome.
think anything else.
Yep.
Why would there be wars for thousands of years over this fucking rock?
Pretty interesting.
And
Well, I
it's
know why, because the real deal's down there.
the alien spaceship with the DNA.
No, that's in Antarctica.
Yeah,
Roseanne
but it
Barr
is funny
podcast.
how the UAP disclosures are starting to, hover pretty close to some of the ancient religious history that's coming up, and there's a lot of things that are starting to overlap. That it's like, yeah, you could say that then, like, is science debasing God? No, like, or is
No.
God replacing science? It's like
No,
it's all
science
just
is
kinda-
upholding God.
Exactly.
That's
one
what
thing.
people aren't seeing. It's a
Exactly.
great reveal. This is like everybody was said, this was the great awakening, but in my speech I said it's the great reveal.
Yep.
Because we're going to see the real truth of everything laid bare before us. And, we just want people to have all the information so they can be on the right side, which is the side of love. Because evil will destroy itself. First of all, this is a real biblical thing, but evil, it has to keep feeding,
Mm-hmm.
And it loves more than anything, it loves to feed on innocence. That's why it goes for kids. It loves to feed on innocence and destroy it, because that gives it a big, I forget the word.
Boost, power boost.
No, it has a word.
No, I don't know.
Thrill. I
Yeah.
can't remember the word. But when that's gone, then it'll feed on the in-betweens that, got some good and some bad in them. It takes them too, but it's not the biggest thrill. The biggest thrill is kids, but when it's already destroyed everything, which to me that was the Biden administration, because they
It was
just
dark.
wanted Jews
dark.
to die everywhere around the world. Obama,
Yeah.
because he's the head of the Muslim
I mean, they wanted a
Brotherhood.
lot of more evil things than that
Yeah,
too. But
I
they,
know.
Yeah, certainly weren't great to anyone.
We're obviously
No.
biased to
Yeah.
notice that one.
And no,
more.
but I
Understandably so.
thought he was just horrifying, but I ran against him because of that.
You're talking
you know.
about Obama now.
Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But after it kills everything, which I think that was the Obama-Biden years, it don't have nothing else to eat but itself.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
cancer cell, this is like deep biblical stuff, but then it has to eat itself, like the thing eating its own tail, the snake eating its own tail. And I think that's where we're at. And I think we have to be real careful to help not revive it, but push it over, because we do want that horizontal rule. We don't want to be forced to accept a God at a point of a
Agreed.
sword that we don't believe in,
Or a
that
caste
doesn't
system.
give us a battery or strength or hope,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
I
Freedom.
mean, and the version of that I'm most concerned about, although I'm no fan of Islam,
Yeah.
like
I can tell.
whatever.
It's got good stuff in it, but like all things, it's infiltrated. Like Judaism is too. Everything's infiltrated.
But I think the real religion of like this global kind of network of evil, I think their real religion is really technological.
You don't think
Yeah.
it's Satan?
Well, Satan is that in a certain way.
Transhumanism.
Transhumanism, exactly, right?
Okay.
And I think that what we need to be really worried about right now in the big picture, especially going forwards for the next 20 years, is the technologists that are giving us solutions that are so convenient, that are so useful. Like, and I'm not saying that I know for sure these are bad people, but like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and Larry Ellison are three guys that are real close to Trump right now, bringing all these great technological solutions that also just so happen to impinge on all of our freedoms and change the very nature of like our relationship with the government.
Yeah, we don't
and
want
our
no part
rights.
of that. We just want to raise heirloom foods and trade with our neighbors.
And our children.
We don't want any of this shit.
Yeah, but it's
Fuck
coming
it.
one way or another.
That's a good way
right?
to look.
I don't know. I think, we'll see what, I think God's in control of everything. We'll see what he does with it. I mean, maybe it'll be a big destruction for a long time, but sooner or later, goodness is going to win.
I think that is the cycle. I mean, I think that's always the cycle, is that humanity's kind of on an eternal march towards God and towards goodness.
Yeah.
But I think that in each cycle of whatever the new thing that tests us, the next thing we're kind of given by this process we go through. And in this case, it's like AI is a good example. AI and technology right now. And it's inherently going to be used for horrible things by horrible people. And that's our test through which we learn the responsibility of being a species that holds AI, right? And it's going to be dark as we go through it. And obviously, we're never going to be all good or all bad. We're never going to do all the right things with AI or all the wrong things. But I agree that I think that good does win as long as good people speak up for good. And the longer people stay silent, the longer we have to go through the evil, right?
Here's like the most revolutionary thing I've ever heard. And are we getting to the end?
We can go. I fucking love this guy, man.
Yeah, we're
I
chilling.
can go all day, but it's...
Well, this really blew my mind, and I've said it to myself, I guess, a couple decades now since I heard it. But my teacher, he told me, I mean, I study all that stuff, Bible deep and stuff. But he said, you know how everybody just accepts Murphy's Law? Yeah. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. And it seems evident in the world. But the truth is, everything that can go right will go right. And if people understood that and just made that part of their consciousness, that would change everything.
Yup.
Right? That's what it's about.
Another piece of that, too, is that I think a lot of people don't, or a lot of people are waking up to this, but it's like your consciousness is a very powerful weapon. And all of our consciousnesses together is a very powerful, like, electromagnetic weapon.
That's right.
To change everything about our, like, I've been getting so fascinated by learning about the science of electromagnetic radiation.
That's right.
And not only like the negative effects of like Wi-Fi on your body, for example, and how you can protect yourself from that. Tons of studies about that.
I got one of these.
But also the effect of our own minds on the world around us, our own minds on each other.
Collective
and I fell down the telepathy tapes rabbit hole recently.
That's so
and,
fascinating.
Oh, I love
do you
that.
know about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the woman, the Dr. Diane Powell, she's speaking at this event that I'm going to in Bandera in a couple of days.
I go.
Cannot wait to meet her.
What does she say?
So she's the woman that's running these studies on these autistic children that are
Instagram.
telepathic. She's the actual doctor in the podcast.
Yeah.
And she's going to be there at the event
Hell
speaking,
yeah,
and I
man.
cannot wait to ask her questions because that whole podcast and it's not just the podcast. That's just a window into what's been going on with these severely autistic
No, they're
children.
like at
apparently.
97, 98%, right?
Well, most of them are 100% accurate.
That's
yeah.
fucking
I know.
crazy.
And so, like, for anyone that has not watched the telepathy tapes, this sounds silly, but go to YouTube and look up the telepathy tapes on YouTube, and there's
Highly
a whole 10 episode season, and it's just an audio only podcast, and they understand that their claims are crazy, and so they walk you through the scientific process that they go through in order to say, like, is this real evidence, and how do we vet that it's real evidence, and how much? And there's so much evidence, like
There's so much
thousands
evidence.
of families around this country, like all telling us the same thing.
For those who
all
don't
their
know,
kids.
some of these autistic kids can read their parents' minds.
Yeah.
No, I could read minds as a kid.
But this is what the podcast
Yeah.
is
I mean,
about.
I
Well, the
know
deeper
all this stuff
implications
is-
are bigger, right?
I don't-
No, all
what?
this stuff is so self-evident to
It's like
me
remote
because
viewing.
I have dissociative disorder and I'm autistic and a million other fucked up things that I got. But no, I know it.
Yeah.
I
And
know
the
it's
CIA's
true.
known it for a long time too, and
Remote
they've been
viewing.
And the
studying
KGB.
it. Bingo. And that was what first opened my mind to the possibility of these more spiritual, like scientific explanations, whatever you want to call it, of this more spiritual reality, was learning about the CIA's funding and the KG, all these intelligence agencies' funding of remote viewing and psychological warfare techniques.
That's right.
And then
Fifth dimension warfare.
bingo. And when the telepathy tapes dropped, I was like,
Me too.
tell me more. Because when you get to the end of those 10 episodes, your brain starts to turn over on all the ways that connects to all these other things. Like, for example, they're saying that UAP crafts that they're recovering and trying to reverse engineer, most of the whistleblowers and leakers, whether they're, government ops or not, whatever, they're pretty much all saying that those spaceships are controlled by minds, that they're telepathically controlled, right?
They've known that forever.
So it's like, okay, suddenly then we start giving people these medications that are turning everyone into nonverbal telepaths. Like, that's a weird coincidence.
Well, I just say
Right?
because
Wow.
During a technological arms race involving telepathic technology?
Never thought about that.
Can I tell you, just
God.
because I'm
I love you,
pretty
man.
drunk,
I think you're
but
awesome.
I always have a limit of 2 drinks.
Yeah, you're cut off.
I've only had 1, but I don't know if I should disclose, but I could disclose.
Do what you want. I want to hear more about this too.
Okay, keep
No, no.
Don't disclose things that rich people with black suits and guns tell you not to. But
Say again.
We're armed.
yeah, don't disclose things that dangerous people that will hurt you tell you not to.
He's
Or don't disclose things that you promise other people that you won't disclose.
Oh no, I never disclose that.
Yeah.
I
that
disclose
matters.
out of my personal life and what I found.
Yeah.
But keep talking. We love you.
well. He's
Yeah.
basically. I mean, correct me
Isn't
if I'm
that an
wrong.
interesting theory? I
Even
mean, it's
though
all
you have
tinfoil.
a
Yeah, no,
weirdly
it's-
shaped
but-
head, which
Oh yeah, Rita's head. You're a head reader, but hold on, I want to hear the rest of his theory, and then
Okay.
Rita's head.
okay.
So you're saying the rise and spike in autism rates might be intentional,
I'm saying that is purely tinfoil.
No,
but
it's
it's
true.
a question worth
No, it's
asking,
true.
right?
but
It's
but-
like we happen to
because they have
discover these
powers.
crafts in the 50s, 40s ish
Yeah.
that we're trying to reverse engineer.
Yeah.
And through the 40s,
That's right.
50s, 60s, 70s, we're starting to discover like, holy shit, these are alien spacecrafts that we control, that the aliens control with their minds. And we
Right.
don't know how the hell they're doing it. And then as that development, we start to reverse engineer those crafts apparently through the 70s and 80s. And we're getting whistleblowers claiming we have reverse engineering programs. And they're doing all the mind control experiments through MK Ultra during the 70s,
Right.
the 60s,
They're
70s,
still
80s.
doing it.
Still, right?
In Gaza.
And
Yeah.
all of that is like, then all of a sudden we start putting things in these vaccine medications
Yeah.
that just so happen to accidentally cause a whole bunch of autism
AIDS.
dispersed all around
Right.
the world, right?
Injecting superpowers. It's
That's
fucking-
weird, and it's maybe just a coincidence, but it's a fun question to
There are
ask.
no
Because if
coincidences. Well,
I
here's
was the
what I
CIA,
said.
I would be trying to make more autists.
Hell yeah! I want an autist.
Here's
mind
what I
controller to
said
run
in
shit.
my prayer for Rosh Hashanah, my address to humanity from Jerusalem on Rosh Hashanah.
Mhm.
Or was it Yom Kippur? I don't remember.
It's all the same, Jews.
Yeah, it's all,
Zog.
I'm a Jew.
Fucking Zog.
But I got that God has put the Jews through so much trauma over the years, over the centuries,
Oh my god, maybe we're the autists.
because here's what my grandson said to me. When he was 16. He goes, "Why do they hate us so bad? I mean, most of us are just overweight autistics."
It's true. Like
He said that?
Yeah, he said that.
That's hilarious.
It was hilarious. He's a comic. But,
But
I
it's
said
true.
to him, I started thinking about that. And I said, I think God has put us through so much stuff like that so that we become autistic in the age of cyber.
Wow.
Because I was just studying about these weapons that Israeli autists, I mean, but they're scientists too.
Mhm.
Are they mind controlled weapons with autists? Because we're on the same shit right now.
They are not mind controlled because for the first time in Jewish history for 2,000 years, they're not occupied by a foreign religion. They're not occupied by a foreign religion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and they've been raised in freedom and autonomy and sovereignty for 2 generations. And they're women, which I always talk about. The whole internet is patterned after the way a woman's mind thinks.
Because it's totally retarded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Like overreactive and fighting and
It's
no one
it's
listens.
A lot of drama.
Yeah, drama.
you're onto something.
But it's deeply that all synapses are connected for
Yeah.
one focus, raising that baby.
Yeah.
So, it's that. But, it is an amazing time. Oh, these weapons.
Yeah, I was curious.
So they're able to check a battlefield since Trump got off their ass. It's not Biden. You know what I mean? Trump got off their ass and allowed them creative freedom. And because Trump is creative freedom, right?
Trump is a very creative person.
He's for creative freedom. And I love that he smashed through both their narratives, the either or narrative of, the Palestinians or the Zion. He smashed right through it. They were given beautiful beachside property and they did nothing with it. I'm going to build a thing. I mean, talk about fucking smashing the imperialist mind control.
I love
That's
that.
why I love him.
A little bit. I was
want
You probably
my-
see it different.
I
loved it.
want my
Yeah.
beachfront property in Gaza there. Gaza's where Samson fought.
Yeah, I just can't help but feel like,
Oh,
aside from the politics of it, there are thousands of dead children in Gaza that were just children.
Yeah,
And
it's
they're
well,
not,
they should have put them in the fucking tunnels, you
Fafo.
motherfuckers.
Yeah, but like that's not how like.
Well, you don't go attack your neighbor knowing they're going to come back at you at
Seriously.
full force
I
and,
hate-
Well,
I hate
well,
that.
what
and
I'm
put
saying
your
is-
weapons in kindergartens and hospitals
Yeah.
because they knew the kids would die. Those motherfuckers, they're mind controlled Satanists and they need child sacrifice. And
That's
they
what it is.
sacrificed every one of them dead Arab
And
children.
I'm saying those
don't get
kids
me
had
started.
nothing to do with it.
No, of
But
course
they
not.
used them as
Yeah.
human sacrifice because they want their blood and their organs. So fuck the UN, fuck them all, fuck all the Satanists. They're, I want the lives of Arab children. Let them all come to Israel and be free of mind control.
And so that's what I mean.
That's
is
what
like,
I said 20 years ago when I said, let's just call it Israelstein. We'll make it based on children's rights if we want a real Jewish state.
I would love
It'll
that.
be based on children's and women's rights. Fuck all y'all. God almighty.
We don't want
Yeah.
child soldiers anywhere.
No, we
It's
don't
bad in
want
Sierra
that.
Leone. It's
We're
bad-
gonna
Child
have-
soldiers is one of the
We're
greatest
going to have a real
atrocities.
biblical,
It's
we're going to have a
almost
real
worse
biblical
than-
state.
She's off the res. It's
Oh,
almost worse than child sex trafficking, honestly.
It might
It's
be.
the same thing.
'Cause it's double
they have
victims.
to. They have to anally rape a boy to get him to be a soldier.
It's the third
Hello, I'm sick of it.
All right.
It's all based on that, and I know it. You're all a bunch of pedophiles, all y'all,
They're
every
Satanists.
one of you in power.
But think about it. Child sex trafficking is the victim is the child. But if it's a child soldier who's been victimized, they don't just want to be a soldier. They're also raped into it.
That's a good point.
Now they're out shooting people. It's double victim. It's double worse. It's way more.
It's all about the
atrocious.
Satanists wanting to hump the boys in the butt. Like I said, it's all about boy ass. Everything in this world is run on boy
Ian
ass.
Carroll, this is when
You
the
gotta
second
stop.
glass
You're
of wine
going
kicks
straight
in.
to hell. You're going straight to hell. I'm telling you what, you're going straight to hell. God knows who you are too.
Yep.
And he's going to take you out. You're over. Babylon has fallen. Pharaoh, kiss my Jew ass.
Can I say one thing? I know we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
First of all, you're a fucking stud.
Thank
you. Come
you.
here. You're in our house. You guys had a little debate on Twitter. We're
We
polar
love
opposite.
you.
We thought. I think we're totally in unison here.
Yeah, Twitter skews towards. I mean,
does.
we have disagreements.
Here's what I'm going
but
to tell
that's
you.
fine.
I
Who cares?
told you I was
Well,
going
wait,
to.
mom, please let me finish. It's very awesome.
He weighed
of you-
10 pounds.
Please let me finish.
I
She never
had
lets me
hemorrhoids
finish.
for weeks, and he's going to tell me to be quiet.
Just let me
What?
finish one sentence, and then I just want to say it's pretty fucking awesome. You drove here from Austin. It's an
Oh,
hour drive. Will
totally.
you move your mic back? You could have told us fuck off like Candace did, but you came here, and I think we did a lot of good work today on both sides. I think we actually came to an agreement for the most part.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that it's
we
so
all
all
have
important.
to
Satan.
fight the pedos. We have to
Yes.
fight them,
Yeah.
whoever they are, wherever they are, what color,
Muslim,
nationality.
Christian,
All of
atheist.
them, they got to go.
Yes.
Yep.
I need to be installed as queen of the world. I know what is needed, and I'll bomb every motherfucker. I will. I'm sick of this shit. I'm 72. I don't have much time to see the beautiful kingdom of God bloom here on earth as was promised in Torah. Damn it.
I will say one thing, and you're going to get mad at me, but I am for the Palestinian children of Gaza, and I would like to see
Nobody
them.
is more for
She
them
never lets
than
me
me.
finish that.
No,
I would
nobody
love-
is more for
please.
them than me. I went there. I seen them.
Yes.
I promised their grandmothers I won't never forget. I won't never shut up. I won't never forget. I know what's done. I know how they hold you hostage and they take your children. I know they use them children to dig them tunnels. I know they died down there. I know. And I won't never stop because I am a woman of God, of all Abrahamic religions and even atheists. And you can kiss my ass, hands off them kids, no matter who they are, no
Yes.
matter what they believe. Hands off!
Free Palestine.
Free the
from
world from
Hamas.
pedophiles, Satanists.
That's my final word. Hamas.
Free the world from
Hamas.
Satan.
Hamas.
Free the world from Satan.
Yeah, free the world from the whole cabal.
The
Yes.
whole fucking thing.
Yep.
Fuck them, right?
Yep. Yeah, and thank
I'm
you
giving
for
you the last word.
for like, it was so cool because it's important to state for the record too that you guys reached out to me.
Yeah.
It's not like I was like, oh, let's like, I was just kind of having fun having a Twitter beef because it's not like personal in my world.
No,
I
it's
don't
fun
take it
as
personal
shit.
at
It's
all.
all Jake's fault because I said every Jew in the world's going to be up my ass like they are when I go on
No.
Alex or Tucker
It has
and
to be
tell me
your
I'm
idea,
a
and
traitor.
no one will
And I'm
listen.
like, I talk to people, fuck off.
Yeah, no,
No,
you
we
guys are
reached
great.
out to you 100% because there is a factioning happening on the right.
We can't let it happen.
never
We
let me
can't be
finish this sentence.
Islamicized on the
It's
right
always
like
like
the
this.
left did.
Yep.
Shut up, Jake.
No,
Go.
that's true. There's a factioning
10
on the right.
pounds.
There's a
Hemorrhoids
factioning
for
on the right
weeks.
that you and I talked outside,
Hemorrhoids for weeks.
and it is not. It does not appear organic. Those
Yeah.
are your words, and I think
It
we're in
ain't
agreement.
organic. That's what I was saying. October 7th.
But
Yeah,
hold on,
every movement gets
we want
fractured
to
and
stop
divided.
the factioning of the right. That's why we.
Now
wanted
we
to
got to
talk you.
stop
Not that
it
you're
all
right.
because it's all evil. Like October 7th, that was Putin's birthday, and he was there with what's his name of that got killed. What's
I
his
don't
Head of
know
Hamas.
anything about Putin being involved.
Wait,
It was his
Putin,
birthday,
It
October
was
7th.
his
That is
birthday.
interesting.
And
Look
he
it
was
up.
there with
I'll
the
look into
Hamas
that.
guy that Israel killed, and they was lighting candles on the October 7th, which is a big Templar holiday. And, I'm
Well, you
gonna
know,
post
October
it.
13th, Friday the 13th,
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
Templars. So that
Listen,
was.
it's a war
Interesting.
between good and evil, and Torah says that God created this earth so it would play out a war between God and Satan.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
what
what we're living in, so you better pick your side. Listen, I picked my side, and I think you've picked your side.
Yep.
And I think
and,
we're on
uh,
the same side.
We're on the same side, right?
Yep.
We're on God's
it's
side.
on God's side, really.
Yes, sir.
And even for people that don't understand or believe in God yet, it's time to start opening your mind and your heart to finding your version of God, whatever you need to hear to believe in God. Because God is just, in its most simple form, goodness in humans, love, and the truth.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
And Satan is the lies, the deception, the evil,
Hate.
the hate, the fear. Right?
And projecting your sins onto other people, as Jesus said.
Yeah.
Removing the cinder from your neighbor, from the person you
Splinter.
project. How did he say
It was
it?
the
Instead-
splinter in your eye.
The splinter
I think.
in their eye and not seeing the cinder block in your own.
No.
I mean, he really talked about projection, and people are always talking to me about Jesus and what I say, and I try to keep it close to my heart and secret because none of their damn business what I think of, what I believe in. I don't politicize it, but I just want to say, I just think people are closer together than they think. And I think the more we talk to each other, the closer we get to God.
100%.
Yep.
Thank you again.
Thank you for
Great place
coming.
to end. That was awesome.
Would you come back?
Oh, totally.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Next time I'm in Texas, 100%.
Well, we'll come to you. I think you're amazing.
Cool.
And I have nothing more
Yeah.
to say.
Thanks, y'all.
I'm going back to bed. I've been up all night worrying about Because I told Jake all the Jews are going to be on my ass.
Yeah, we're
like
gonna.
they
Oh
were.
yeah, let's wrap on that. We're gonna get so fucking much shit for having you on. You're probably gonna get shit.
Oh,
too.
totally. Yeah.
How do we stand together? And
No one wants to see people have rational discussions across the
no,
differences.
they
No one wants to
Why
see
not?
people because, like, for example, I said things today that you guys don't ultimately think is true or right.
100%.
You guys said things that I don't ultimately agree with being
Yeah.
the truth or right. It's like, and that's not what it's about. Like, we're fundamentally, you're good. Like, I walk in and you're raising your kids, and like you're raising your kids, your grandkids, and stuff. It's like we're all just families of people doing people things, right?
Yeah.
And
No,
ultimately,
but there
the internet
is
is
a right.
just
No,
It's a
but there
fucking
is
crazy
a
place.
right. And everybody says, what is the right? And some people want to say this and some people want to say that. But the right is the highest truth, which is fact. Truth is fact and data. But the highest truth in spirituality is you treat your neighbor as you would want to be treated.
Golden
Yep.
rule, right?
And there's
Yep.
nothing else.
Well,
Just
thank
the
you.
golden rule, which is the golden ratio, which is everything.
So you're a Nazi. No, I'm kidding. we agree.
Everything connected.
You're the
So
Jews.
you
I'll be the
see-
Nazi.
Am I your Jew handler now, or how does this
No,
work?
but
I'm
it
sure
goes,
you are.
You know what Jew meant? It's a Jewish story. The Bible is a Jewish story.
That's true.
And it's about a 6,000 year span of a story that lasts 6,000 years. And
Greatest story ever told.
We're in the last part of the story, which is a great story. But at the time, since it was just about the indigenous people that left Egypt, which was 12 tribes, I hate to tell you, but everybody was a Jew, and that meant person. Okay, there you go. Bye-bye.
Wow. All right. Thank you. That was fucking awesome.
That was fun.